Hi, in this video we're going to continue with the oil change on the 2017 Toyota Tundra. This video will show the reinstallation of the belly pan, filling the engine with oil, and checking the level. So stay tuned. Now what we've got is our oil filter installed. Our drain plug is installed. So that's tightened down. This is also tightened down with the tool that I'm going to link in the description below. So the next thing I'd like to just bring you up to is that these are the bolts that hold the belly pan, and these are the three other, machine screws that hold the front of the belly pan in place. So what I like to do with these is I like to apply a little bit of anti-seize on the threads, because this is under the vehicle. It sees a lot of rain and salt, especially in our climate here in eastern Ontario, where there's a lot of salt on the roads. So because we will be performing this oil change, or I'll be performing this oil change for many more years to come, I want to make sure, or to help myself out, I just put some anti-seize lubricant on these threads. So I didn't show this on the video, but I cleaned up the threads on my stationary grinder using the wire wheel, just to clean things up before I do this. And then what we may or may not show in this video is that I'm going to come over afterwards with some trim clad paint, and I'm gonna touch up some of the parts underneath, the suspension parts, maybe the frame underneath, with some black paint, just to keep things looking fresh and tidy. It's mostly for cosmetic purposes. It's not gonna do anything else really, but just cosmetic. Alright, so my anti-seize is on the bolts. I have my 10mm socket ready. I've got my 13mm socket ready, and my ratchets. Let's put the belly pan back on. This part of the job is a little bit tricky, so I'll try to explain. So here, actually, here's two. These are the areas where the machine screws are going to go. Where the bolts go are here, here, and here. There's 5 of them. And here, I believe. So we'll see that as we install the belly pan. Now, the clever people at Toyota made this easy for us by installing these nice handy hooks, which keep the belly pan in place when you do this step. So let's see. So these hooks, they go and they sit, or they grab inside this. Looks like it's the bottom of the radiator. So I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna attempt to do this at an angle like this, so angling down. You're gonna go in underneath the plastic rails. And that's it. So right now I have it in place. Those hooks that I was showing you are basically keeping the belly pan in place before you get the mounting bolts installed. So I'm just gonna let that hang like that. I'll put my ratchet on. I'll grab one of the 13mm bolts, I'll come down here and I'm gonna just raise this up, put the bolt in, basically start it. I'm just gonna leave it tight or loose for now, just until I get the other ones in case I need to do, you know, some minor adjustment. So again, working on a lift makes this job a whole lot easier, because from this vantage point you can actually see this way where the bolts have to go in. I have to admit that when we were working on the ground it was a lot more difficult. So this is number 3. So I have the 3 rear bolts. There should be 2 more, and they go here up front. Oh, right here. There's one here. So these bolts are pretty much doing the main supporting or anchoring work for the belly pan, while these little 10 millimeters, they're more to keep this bottom air dam in place. So let's go ahead and tighten these down. That's nice. Just use common sense. I don't have the torque spec on this, but I'm just going to put it fairly tight because I don't want this thing to rattle or to come loose on me. I'm going to go back in and give them a little torque. Oh. Okay. And now we'll finish up the installation underneath with your 10 millimeter socket, and we're just going to install these 3 machine screws that are basically holding the air dam to the belly pan. Again, I don't have the torque specs, but just use common sense because it appears to be, you know, thin metal, so you don't want to strip it. So just give it a reasonable amount of torque. Alright, so that basically buttons up everything from underneath. I have my drain plug tightened down. I've got the belly pan tightened down. I've got my 3 bolts up here installed. That basically finishes up things underneath. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some black trim clad paint and just dab these bolts with some paint, and then what we'll do is we'll lower the truck and we'll fill the engine up with engine oil. Okay, welcome back. So we have the truck back down on all 4 wheels. Now what we're going to do is fill the engine with engine oil. So on the 5.7 liter V8 engine on the Toyota Tundra, the oil fill is right up here on the right hand side. Toyota requires SAE 0W20 oil. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to unscrew the fill cap. I'm going to use a funnel, and here's my oil. It comes with a protective foil on it, so I just use a knife, cut a V in it. That way it sort of pours nice and even. This engine takes, I believe, 7 liters, so it's going to consume this entire jug, which is 5 liters, and half of another jug. So what we'll do is we'll come back and show you the where we verify the level of the oil with the dipstick. So I'll start filling now. Alright, so now we're going to check the oil level of the engine after refilling it. So I'll show you where the dipstick is. So under the hood on the left hand side, this is where the oil level dipstick is. Right here, this yellow handle. What we're going to do is pull it out and we're going to look at it. Right here, this is where the oil level is currently in the engine. You need to make sure that you have oil between this indentation on the dipstick and this indentation on the dipstick, those two little bumps. We need to make sure that you have oil coverage in between these two sections, and we do. Therefore, the oil level is good. And that will reinstall the dipstick. Make sure it's seated all the way in, and that completes the oil change. All done.